light or understanding light. If photography cannot exist without light, it's important that you understand light. And getting an understanding of light is going to help you direct it, manipulate it, and work it, and help it work for you. Now, there are two essential ways that you can have light. You can have a hard light or you can have a soft light. Now, the difference between one and the other is best demonstrated with this little experiment that we've got. So I've got an apple here. Now, my camera guy here is going to have to jump up and down with his aperture to make compensations for the changing lighting conditions, but please bear with us. So come in. Here we've got an apple, and we've got one of our studio flash heads here. Now, I'm not using the flash in any way. I'm just using the modeling globe. Now, if I turn that modeling globe up, and this light source is non-diffused in any way, there's nothing between the light source and my subject, this is going to give me a very hard light source. You get the same thing with a torch. And what a hard light is essentially a light source that has no diffusion between it and your subject. Okay? It's a light globe, it's a torch, it's the sun. Anything that is a straight, hard light source. Now, to diffuse that light or make it a soft light, you add some diffusion material or a softbox or something that goes between your light source and your subject. Now, by adding this piece of diffusion material, the skin on the apple is a little more softer. It's a little more flattering. The shadow from the apple is now gone. Look, there's the shadow there, really hard edge. Once we put our diffusion material in, the shadow is still there, but the edge of the shadow is all blended into the background. So that's it on an apple. Let's have a look at it on a shiny subject. Here's a beer bottle. That's very shiny, okay, and not very flattering. Once we put that diffusion material or soften that light, now all of a sudden it looks a lot more flattering. Okay? Stainless steel. Stainless steel is a big one. We use diffusion material and soft light when we're shooting stainless steel because this is it with a soft light. But once you take that soft light away, look at how harsh and shiny that is. It's not very flattering. The specularity of the light is far too high. Once you put that down, it completely changes the look and feel of that stainless steel. Now, when do we use hard light? When do we use soft light? Now we've shown you here, like it's pretty obvious that when we're shooting stainless steel, we want to use a soft diffused light because a hard light is not going to be very flattering, right? Other times where you might want to use a hard light instead of a soft light is when you want to photograph something like this. Now, this teddy bear here has got a lot of fur and a lot of fluff. Now, with that hard light, remembering that the shadows are going to be more defined, the small little shadows in between the fur make this texture far more cuddlier looking. You know what I mean? It adds that really nice softness to that teddy bear. I'd probably use a combination of hard light and soft light with this, just so this gives it a little bit more of that angelic soft feel, but this also makes the texture look a little softer. Now, there's ways that we can manipulate the light, and we can manipulate and bounce the light back and forth by using things like this. Here's a white card and a black card. Now, here's our apple again, and I'm going to demonstrate this with the hard light and then we'll bring in the soft light so you can see. But that light source is hitting this side of the apple. This side of the apple is probably about 1.5 stops, 2 stops brighter than this side. And that's something that's called a ratio, and we're going to go through that in a little bit more detail in another video. But essentially, this side is darker than this side. Now, if we wanted this side to be a little bit brighter, we can bring in a card, a white card, and then introduce some of that light and bounce that back into the apple. You see how now by just putting that card in, it just bounces that light back in. Now that's a fill or a white card. The other thing you can do instead of a fill is have a flag or a black card. And you see how now the black card completely kills that light. It now makes it a much harsher ratio. It's darker on this side than it is on this side. Now you can do the same thing with soft light. There's the soft light. I'll give my cameraman a second to adjust his aperture. So that's no fill. This is with some fill. And now here it is with a black card. And it completely eliminates that light on the other side. So these are some of the basic ways that we use and manipulate things like we use things like this to manipulate light. So this is our diffusion material. This is just stretched out over a piece of timber, a timber frame that we put together. And it allows us to be able to diffuse the light. Now this is fantastic when you're photographing skin and people. It just adds that really nice soft light that people who might have bad skin, that harsh light's going to put those shadows in their face and it's going to make their skin look worse. Whereas once you put something like this, it alleviates some of those shadows and makes the shadows a bit softer and more appealing, therefore making it a far more flattering image to look at.